Hi, I'm Em, and this is the Ewe Up vlog. Hello, I know I've been away for a little while, so welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Em, a knitter and pattern designer living in British Columbia, Canada, and this is my cozy little corner of the internet where we talk all things fiber arts. So, new viewers might not know, but I have been very quiet here on YouTube and on Instagram for the last little while because I have been traveling. But I'm back, I'm settled back in, and I am so excited to tell you all about it because I traveled to a very good spot for wool lovers. So I'm really excited to tell you about my travel and about the yarn that I brought back because of course I brought back yarn. Who wouldn't? My partner and I spent about 2 weeks in New Zealand. We have friends that live out there and we went to visit them and of course do some of our own exploring. We stayed to the North Island, but there was still so much to see and do, and we for sure want to go back because it's such a beautiful place. We started off in Auckland just because that's where our flight landed, and then we hopped down to Wellington and then we drove our way back up north, and we managed to see a good lot of the North Island that way, and oh, honestly, it was so beautiful. The mountains covered in dense, lush greenery took our breath away. It was like everywhere we went, it was just stunningly beautiful. And we had really good weather there too. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't super rainy, so we just had a perfect opportunity to explore. While we were out driving around, we of course passed so many rolling fields full of sheep. New Zealand, as I'm sure everyone here knows, has a lot of sheep, makes a lot of wool. I love driving through the countryside and seeing a flock of very happy sheep, and it just made my heart happy too. I love seeing them. I think most knitters do. I know when I was in Scotland, it was the same thing. Anytime I saw a field of sheep, I'm just like, ah, so nice. Although we were pretty busy and only there for a relatively short amount of time, I made sure that we hit up some yarn shops, and we did a decent amount, I think. And of course, from pretty much every yarn shop, I brought home at least one thing. So let's talk about it. I'll kind of go in chronological order of the way that we visited these shops, and I'll share any clips or photos that I took from each place, and of course I'll chat you through the yarn that I had. So our first stop was at Lupine Wool Shop. Super cute, pretty small, but full of wonderful hand-dyed yarns and like factory produced yarns as well, and just lovely people working there. I had a great time chatting with them and squishing all of the yarn and feeling the fabrics on all of their samples and everything like that. And I was pretty good. I held back because I knew there were more yarn stores coming, but we did come home with a few things. First one I'll show you is this skein here. This is from Yarn Floozy. It's hand dyed on their staunch base, and the color is Ambrosia. And it's a beautiful mauve with, where's the color? There we go. Hopefully that's in focus. Some lovely coppery, golden, bronzy colors running through it every now and then. And this colorway was picked out by my partner, and it is our first contribution to our travel blanket yarn stash. So for those of you who are new here, my partner and I have a little tradition where every time we travel somewhere new, we collect at least one skein of yarn to add to a stash that will become kind of a patchwork blanket, and it'll be a tangible memory of all of our trips together. And the deal is that I have veto power, but he picks the colors. So if I think, and the only reason I would veto it is if it was like the wrong base, or if I knew that it wouldn't go with the other colors that we have picked out. Because I do want it to look cohesive. I can't do chaotic, random yarn combinations. I just can't. It needs to at least be cohesive. So that's the only time I use my veto power. But we did come away with more than one skein for the blanket, which may be overdoing it, but I don't think so. My partner did stop at the second location we went to. I'll show you that yarn in a little bit, but he was like, I thought we were only getting one skein of yarn for the blanket per place. And I said, I never said that. We can get as many as we want, which really means we can get as many as I want, let's be real. But I do love that together we are contributing to a blanket that's going to hold so many lovely memories together. So yeah, this yarn floozy skein, hand dyed, this will be our first contribution there. And I did make another purchase here. I was trying to hold back, but I just couldn't with this. I'll show you the skein here. So this is brushtail yarn, 4-ply, so fingering weight, in the color Firefly. It is 30% brushtail possum and 70% merino wool. Now, brushtail possum is an animal that was introduced to New Zealand a long, long time ago, and it has wreaked havoc on their native flora and fauna for well over 100 years. It's been declared a pest, and the government of New Zealand is trying to decrease brushtail numbers in order to save their natural flora and fauna. It eats birds eggs, it's an omnivore, so it eats other food sources for native animals. So it's not great. However, their fur is really interesting. It's got a lot of interesting properties. It's a hollow core, which I just learned really is the same kind of fur structure that polar bears have. Who would have thought? Well, not me. I'm not a science girly. So that hollow core means that it's very lightweight, but it also traps a lot of warmth. So I was really curious about trying this, as this is, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can only get brushtail yarn in New Zealand. But I'm not 100% on that one. But it is pretty unique to New Zealand, and I've heard wonderful things about it. Pretty much every yarn shop in New Zealand that I visited had at least one brand of brushtail yarn. So it's widespread, readily available. And I just fell in love with this color. And I was very lucky. They actually had a sample of this yarn, and I think even in this color in the shop. So I got to feel the fabric when it's all knit up, and oh my gosh, I was in heaven. So I'm really interested to work this up, see how the fabric behaves. And apparently adding brushtail possum to another wool makes the fabric super pill resistant, which I feel like anybody who works with fiber knows the worst thing is when you've finished making a whole sweater, it's taken you hours, you wear it once, and all of a sudden it's covered in little bubbles. Like, it's disappointing. It's a lot of upkeep. So I'm really curious to see, again, how this fabric behaves and how it wears. And it's beautiful, so I think I'm really going to enjoy knitting it. So yeah, came home with 3 skeins of this. It'll probably become like a vest or something. It is 50 grams only, so 200 meters per skein. So 3 is 600 meters. We'll see. I don't really have a plan for this. I do think it would look really good with some cables. So, you know, inspiration, thoughts brewing up in here. But yes, so these were my two purchases from Lupine. Pretty good start to the trip, and looks like we were kind of on a color theme as well. So unfortunately, we only had a day in Wellington, and we didn't make it to any wool shops down there. We spent most of our time at the Taupo Museum, which is incredible. Highly recommend a visit there. And we spent some time walking around, having food. We went to the Botanic Gardens. It was just a lovely day, but we did only have the one day, which looking back, we both kind of regretted. It's a very cute city, very cool. We would have loved more time to explore it, but hey, we can keep that in mind for the next time we're in New Zealand, which there will definitely be a next time. Our next stop after Wellington was Napier. We went out there. We had 1 day, 2 days. We were there for 2 nights. As you can see, we did a lot of city hopping, so please bear with me if it takes me a minute to remember exact timelines. But we went out to Napier. This was kind of our chill city after a busy first couple of days, and even on the drive up to Napier, we stopped and did quite a few activities. So we visited some wineries, we went to the beach, we went to the aquarium, just had a pretty chill time. And then on our way out of Napier at the end of our time there, we did stop at another shop, wool shop. I didn't take any photos or videos. They had a sale going on and it was pretty full. Didn't want to film people and post it, so I just didn't take any photos or videos. It's called the Skeins, and it is its own yarn brand, so they produce and dye all of their own yarn. And a really good selection, different weights, different fiber combos, and they did really have some excellent prices on yarn. However, I didn't have the need to buy a full sweaters quantity. I didn't have anything in mind that I really wanted to knit, so I didn't purchase anything from here. Even though the prices were good, I was trying not to spend and purchase more yarn when I really had no reason to, and if I wasn't fully in love with the yarn. I am trying to cut down on how many skeins I add to stash this year. Not that you would know from this yarn haul, but I am trying to be more conscientious about my yarn consumption and trying not to over purchase. So because I didn't have anything clearly in mind that I was looking for, I just didn't make any purchases. But if you are in New Zealand, it does have excellent prices, especially when they have a sale going on. I think there were some hanks that were going for like $6 New Zealand dollars, which in Canadian exchange works out to be like $4.30, which is a bargain. From Napier, we then drove up to Taupo, and we spent again another 2 nights there, I think, and we had a pretty chill time there as well. We did some sailing, we just walked around. It's another cute town right on a lake, and it was just lovely. We had some good weather while we were there. My partner went skydiving, which is pretty crazy. My heart did leap up into my throat. But he had an excellent time doing it. And we visited another wool shop here called the Woolshed Taupo. Now, I admit, I didn't do too much research when I was compiling a list of yarn shops for our trip. The Woolshed is not necessarily a yarn store. They did have a small selection of yarn, but primarily it was selling ready-made garments and accessories and stuff like that. So it was really lovely to go through and feel the fabrics and see, you know, all of the different yarns that they use in their product. They did also have some treated fleeces there, which was really cool to see and touch and feel the different, because they had a few different kinds of wool fleeces. So it was really interesting to see them side by side and compare textures and stuff. I don't get a lot of chances to do that. But they did have some yarn, and we did pick up another skein for our travel blanket. This is from a brand called Broadway. The color Rose Blush. It's definitely more of a purple than a rose, I would say. It does go really well with our previous blanket purchase. Just a nice little stop, but just for your awareness, not really much of a yarn shop, but there is a lot of woolly goodness in there. Fortunately, when we were traveling, it was hard to meet everyone's open hours, so we did miss out on a few yarn shops just because they weren't open. One such was Amy's Woolshed, which I was really excited about. This was out near Rotorua, and Google said it was open. It definitely was not, but it looked really cute. I could see a little peek through the window, and it looked like they had some really nice yarns. So the next time we end up back in New Zealand on the North Island, I will make sure that I can visit them during their open hours. Wanted to mention it anyway because it did look like they had a good selection. From Rotorua, we then drove up to Lee and Matakana, and just outside Matakana was a little gelato shop that we stopped at. And in behind the car park there was this tiny little yarn shop. It's called the Knitting Truck. It was adorable, and this is where most of my yarn purchases came from. They dye their own yarn there, as well as stock some other brands, and I had a field day squishing literally everything in there. They had a few different sheep breeds that I've never seen before, and they did offer some possum wool as well. So I did come away with 2 skeins of this possum wool blend, 80% merino, 20% possum. This one is a DK, and again, I got 2 skeins. I'm hoping I can make a little vest out of this, and I can picture what I want in my mind, so this one I know for sure. This is the color Feijoa, which is a funny little fruit. We got to try it. Our friends have a tree that grows in their backyard. It's kind of, how do I describe it? Kind of like a kiwi in texture, but it tastes kind of like apples, but very floral. The texture wasn't for me, but it was a very interesting flavor. Trees were everywhere. People had little farm stands set up along the roads with signs saying like free Feijoas. They're everywhere. So I thought it was lovely to bring back a skein of yarn inspired by the fruit. Speaking with the owner and dyer here was really interesting. She dyes everything with rainwater, so it feels very in tune with the nature there. I just love that extra little detail. So this was, I think this was actually the first thing I grabbed because I just loved this color. I'm having a green moment right now. And I just love that it was inspired by Feijoas because they are everywhere. So got 2 of those. Again, I'm hoping to make a vest out of them. And then surprise of all surprises, I got hooked in by pink yarn. You guys know I love a strawberry / bubblegummy pink. Honestly, any pink really. So I did get hooked. So I got this one here. This is a 80% merino, 20% Lincoln wool. It is a fingering weight, again, dyed with rainwater. I'll bring it closer just so you can see. There's lilac and gold and almost a hibiscus-y color, all on this lovely rose base. And unfortunately / fortunately, there was only the one skein of this. So sadly, I couldn't get enough for a garment, but maybe that's good for my bank account. So I was limited to just the one, but I couldn't leave it behind. This one does not have a colorway name, so it might have just been a one of a kind. But yeah, I just loved it. Very on brand for me. And then I did talk my partner into getting another skein for our travel blanket, and I picked out 3, and then I let him choose between the 3 because like looking at these ones here, I was like, okay, we need to get some warmer colors back into this blanket because we have some warmer skeins at home. Everything is kind of skewing a little cooler, so I just wanted to tie it back in. So I picked out 3 warmer leaning skeins and let him pick. And included in the 3 was a very expensive skein of handspun. I was not expecting him to pick it, which is why I put it in there, but he did pick it. And I mean, I can't blame him. Look at that. Look at that. Again, hand dyed and hand spun by the owner here. This is a mixture of British wools and no colorway, but hand dyed in the same manner. So, oops. Yeah, and it holds really nice memories, and that's the whole point. So maybe I should have been a little bit more careful and not put the most expensive skein in the offering, but I truly didn't think he was gonna pick it. Little do I know, we both have expensive taste. Oh my goodness. I think it'll make a great addition to the blanket as well. It ties in a bunch of colors, so happy with that. Right at the end of our trip, we were flying back out of Auckland, so we drove back down from Matakana to Auckland, and we had a little bit of time to kill. So I did manage one more yarn shop stop, and this was to Prosper Yarns. Again, a super cute indie yarn shop. They dye all of their own yarns. I actually don't think they carried any other brand of yarn other than their house brand, but they had a huge array of different bases with different fiber contents, and I just love the colors. The people there are absolutely lovely. Again, we were having a good time, joking, chatting, and I was fully intending not to buy anything at this stop, which I'm sure you've guessed by now, I failed at that, but for a very good reason. So to give you some background info, I have some yarn coming. It's just been shipped. It's from Paisley Knits, and I ordered it with the intention of using it as the main color of the sheep sweater by Rosa Pomar. And I really wanted the contrast color in that sweater to be a neutral with colorful speckles. And I was really struggling to find a yarn that matched kind of the vision that I had in my head. I'd been looking for months, couldn't find anything that like I knew was the right vibe until I came here. So I did come away with a purchase, just 2 skeins. I really held back, but it was the perfect color and I just couldn't leave without it. This is Grace's Garden on the batch base, which is a merino linen blend, is fingering weight. And you can see, I mean, look at those nice speckles. I think they'll just provide just enough interest. The color that I have on the way is kind of a cool leaning brown. So I think this will still, like even these darker olive colors, they'll still pop against it in exactly the right way. I knew as soon as I laid eyes on it that this was the perfect contrast color. So I came home with two, just over the recommended yardage, luckily. And I'm so excited about it. Couldn't be more perfect. So I did kind of break my intention there. After the knitting truck, I was like, okay, we're yarned out. I've spent enough money. That's a good amount of yarn to bring back. It was too perfect. It was just too perfect. And I am so, so happy with the fact that I found literally the dream color combo for this sweater. So I'm even more excited to cast on now. And I'm just waiting. I keep refreshing the tracking on that Paisley Knit Sorter because I just want to see them side by side. Yeah, and again, just a super cool little shop. Highly recommend popping in there if you're in Auckland. So there you have it. That is my full yarn haul from my New Zealand trip. I am super stoked about all of these purchases. I love that I've got some unique bases in there to try out. And yeah, I love buying yarn when I'm traveling because it holds so many memories to it. And then every time I knit with it or wear it, I'm just reminded of the travel and the good memories and the time with friends and everything like that. So highly recommend, if you travel a lot, taking a look for wool shops wherever you are and seeing if you can buy a little skein as a memento to take home, because it does make me really happy to see these skeins, and I'm very excited to work them up, which might take a while because I do have a lot of stash. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tour kind of New Zealand yarn. I will have some links to the shops that I've mentioned down below, and I'll have some links to resources regarding brushtail possum and brushtail possum fur as well if you want to look into that further. And hopefully you enjoyed my little snippets that I've put in here in this video. Highly recommend all of these shops for a visit if you're ever in New Zealand. I could have spent so much more time in each of these places just looking around and squishing yarn and everything. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me get far too excited about wool. You can follow along on Instagram and here on YouTube if you enjoy this content. I do also do longer kind of traditional knitting podcasts where I talk you through my works in progress and finished objects and stuff like that, but haven't had a ton of time to make much progress on my whips, so it'll be a little while at least before the next full update. So hit that follow button if you would like to see more. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and happy knitting. Bye.